The Choice by Introverted Actress. Chapter 1. The first thing I noticed when I woke up was how horrible my head felt. I dazedly opened my eyes. The sunlight from above practically blinded me and gave me a massive headache. Where am I? I carefully sat up, trying to ignore the intense pain lingering in the back of my head. I tentatively reached my hand back to feel for any injuries. There was a large lump on the back of my head and some dried blood. I figured I must have hit it somehow. Looking up, I saw the faint outline of a large hole in the ground. I racked my brain, trying to remember how I fell into it, or why I was there in the first place, or what I was doing on the surface, or what anything was like on the surface. I gasped for air, trying to remember something, anything, but it was no use. A searing pain in my head brought me back to my senses. My head hurt so bad. I looked around the chasm where I was now sitting, on a massive pile of flowers. Those must have been what saved my life when I fell down. I needed to stand up. Grimacing at the thought of putting myself in more pain, I slowly put both feet underneath me and forced myself up. Apart from some massive bruises and extremely sore muscles, I couldn't find any injuries. I looked around the room again, taking in my surroundings. Not that there was much to take in. The whole room was pitch dark and had nothing in it, apart from the bed of flowers. The only thing making it possible to see at all was the small patch of light coming through the chasm. That gave me an idea. If I had fallen into the hole, maybe there were people up there looking for me. "Hello?" I tried to say, but a long time without speaking made my voice crack. I cleared my throat and tried again. "Hello?" I waited for a few moments. No luck. I figured that would happen. This cave was way too deep, and even if people were looking for me, I doubted they would check down here. Anybody who had fallen would surely be dead. It really was a miracle I had survived. I felt alone. I was stuck in an enormous chasm with no memories of who I was or how I got here. If only there was a way to trigger my memory. How do I get out of here? I thought to myself, looking around the cave for the third time. This time, I noticed a large hallway at the end of the room. It didn't look natural. The way it was carved out of the stone made it look man-made. If it was man-made, that meant I wasn't the only one down here. Ignoring the pulsing pain in my head, I ran to the hallway and followed it. I practically flew down the hall. However, something at the end made me stop. There was a massive gray doorway which led to another cave. This cave had no light source, and I couldn't see anything in front of me. My breath caught in my chest. Maybe I shouldn't go in there, I thought to myself. It was rather frightening being stuck, alone in a dark cave system with no hopes of escaping. Maybe I should just turn around. I shook my head. There was no way I was going to let something as silly as fear keep me from getting back up to the surface. Maybe there I could remember who I was. I took a deep breath and walked inside. The moment I stepped through the door, a small flower popped up in front of me. I gasped and stumbled back. As far as I knew, there was no way a flower could grow that fast, especially with no sunlight. A weird sense of dread crept its way into my stomach. I felt really uneasy around this flower. The way the shadows fell on it made it look like it had a face. Suddenly, the head of the flower moved, and I saw that it really did have a face. I scrambled backwards again, breathing rapidly. "Golly, you sure are jumpy, aren't ya?" I stared in shock as the flower spoke. There was no way. Flowers on the surface didn't do that. At least, I didn't think they did. I couldn't quite remember. The flower smiled at me. "Howdy," it said cheerfully. After a moment's hesitation, I smiled back, feeling better. There was nothing to be afraid of, really. Even though it defied the laws of nature, this flower seemed friendly. Besides, it was the only other source of life I had seen so far. "Hi," I said awkwardly. "What's your name?" "I'm Flowey. Flowey the flower." Even the flower's voice made me uneasy. It spoke with a high-pitched voice that made it seem almost sarcastically happy. My smile faltered, and I felt the urge to leave, to get away from Flowey as fast as possible. I shook myself again. He's just a flower. What harm could he do? "You're new to the underground, aren't ya?" Flowey's voice startled me from my thoughts. I nodded. So, that's where I was. The underground. Admittedly, it wasn't a very creative name. "Golly, you must be so confused. Someone ought to teach you how things work around here." Yeah, that would be nice, I thought, nodding to myself. I guess little old me'll have to do. I smiled. This cute little flower was offering to help me. At this rate, I'd be back up on the surface in no time. Then, I could finally regain my lost memories. Before I could reply, something strange happened. A glowing red heart was pulled from me, and was hovering a few feet in the air, right in front of Flowey. I stared in awe. Written on the heart were a whole bunch of letters and numbers. LV1, HP 20 out of 20. See that heart? Flowey said. That's your soul, the very culmination of your being. My soul? I stared at the heart in wonder. Your soul starts off weak, but can grow strong if you gain a lot of LV. I reread the letters again. LV1, HP 20 out of 20. What's LV stand for? Why, love, of course. Flowey smiled kindly. You want some love, don't ya? I nodded. I still had no idea what love was, or what it was used for down here, but I knew that I really wanted some. Down here, love is shared through little white friendliness pellets. 6 blinking white dots appeared in the air above Flowey. Try to catch one! The friendliness pellets started slowly moving towards me. I reached my hand out and noticed that my soul moved as well. The friendliness pellets passed through my hands, but the minute one touched my soul, all I could feel was pain. Flowey started laughing maniacally. His cute smile had turned into a sinister grin. My HP had gone from 20 out of 20 to 1 out of 20. You idiot, Flowey said, still laughing. In this world, it's kill or be killed. I stared in shock at Flowey. He was being so nice. What happened? Why would anyone pass up an opportunity like this? Flowey said. Wait, like what? I responded. Suddenly, the blinking white pellets surrounded me in a complete circle. There was no way out. Flowey laughed again and said one more word. Die! Chapter 2. I watched in terror as the circle of friendliness pellets grew smaller and smaller around me. If even one of them hit my soul, I would die. Just as I was beginning to lose hope, suddenly, they stopped. Flowey stopped laughing. Both of us stared in shock as all the pellets disappeared. What the? Flowey tried to speak but was cut off as a ball of fire shot straight towards him. I watched as it connected, and Flowey was launched away by the force of the explosion. With wide eyes, I looked up at a figure walking towards me through the darkness. As I got closer, I started to notice what they looked like. A woman, with big long ears, horns, and a bright purple dress, smiled at me. What a terrible creature, she said, torturing a poor innocent youth. I narrowed my eyes in suspicion. The woman spoke with a warm voice, like the way a mother would speak to her child. However, I did not trust her. Sure, she seemed kind, but so had Flowey. I wasn't exactly ready to trust anybody yet, even if they had just saved my life. Ah, do not be afraid, my child, the woman said, sensing my wariness. I am Toriel, caretaker of the ruins. I pass through this place every day to see if someone has fallen down. I nodded slowly. So she always checks this place? Why would she? Did she know I was coming? What if... My thoughts were interrupted by another pulsing pain in my head. Because of all the adrenaline in me from Flowey's attack, I had forgotten it. But now it was returning full force. I closed my eyes tightly and held my hand to my injury as if it would help. Toriel's eyes widened in worry. My child, are you all right? I tried to nod, but that just made the pain even worse. Instead, I just grimaced. Toriel watched as slowly the pain grew less and I could function again. What is your name, my child? Toriel asked. I opened my mouth to respond, but suddenly realized I didn't have an answer. What is my name? Toriel stood patiently, waiting for my response. Come on, I said to myself furiously. Just think of a name. Who cares if it's real or not? Frisk, I blurted out. Okay, you could have done better than that. Where did that name come from? I could have said something simple, like, well... I tried to think of common names on the surface, but, of course, nothing came up. Toriel smiled at me. That is a very nice name, she said warmly. Come, let me guide you through the catacombs. I still didn't trust her, but she had just saved me from Flowey. I nodded and followed her across the room, and through another gray door. Past this door was an enormous room with two staircases on either side, leading up to one door up on a white platform. In front of this platform was a small yellow star. I walked up to it. It seemed to be made out of pure light, making my eyes hurt slightly from staring at it. I wanted to touch it. I carefully reached my arm out and lightly touched the star. My soul appeared in front of me again, but only for a few seconds. The letters and numbers had been replaced with one word: saved. I looked up at Toriel, who was waiting for me at the top of the stairs. The shadow of the ruins looming above and the prospect of an adventure filled me with determination.